pausing in her flight a while on boughs to slide, feels them give way beneath her, and sings and sings and sings, knowing she hath wings. Be like the bird that, pausing in her flight a while on boughs to slide, feels them give way beneath her, and sings and sings and sings, knowing she hath wings.
Hey, happy Sunday, everyone. And a special welcome to my fellow nocturnal owl types who have to make an extra effort to be here on a morning. I'm Chris Barber. I'm your worship associate this morning. It's my joy to welcome members and visitors of all ages, those connecting online. Hi, Mom. She's actually here today. She missed the last time, so yay, Mom. And those of you present in the sanctuary. Now, those of you who read the newsletter know that we share member birthdays, but not everyone is always included for, whatever reason. So not only is it Jamie Wolfe and Barbara Watson's birthday today, it is also Tom, our amazing tech and great musician's birthday as well. So yay, Tom. Now, and for any of you who thought about singing happy birthday with anything but dread, please consider joining our wonderful choir. So, having said that, please take a minute or two to greet those around you. Okay, now I'll stick to the script. That was my fun.
That's good. Good. Personalized.
Such nice flowers. Not much of a ding. Try that again. It is good to be together. We begin each of our services by acknowledging the devastating impact of colonialism in this country, understanding that all of us are located on the traditional, ancestral, unceded territory of indigenous communities. We respect the history and culture of these communities and all Native Americans as America's first peoples. We would like to extend a special welcome to our visitors this morning. We are delighted that you chose to be with us today and invite you to stay after the service for some informal conversation. If you are here in person, you may gather in our social hall through those doors. Those visiting online are welcome to stay after the service for conversation with other participants on Zoom. We invite visitors here to fill out the green visitor form in the pews here. These can be placed in the offering basket later in the service. Visitors online are encouraged to fill out the visitor form on our website, UUSLO.org, at the bottom of the main page. If you have questions about the congregation or about Unitarian Universalism, our membership director, Larry I. Quinta, will be available after the service at the newcomers table in the social hall, or you may contact him at membership.uuslo@gmail.com. We encourage everyone to greet someone you don't recognize after the service. Once again, a warm welcome to all. Today's chalice lighting is by Scott Taylor. As we light this flame, may we hear what it has to say. Come back to your center, it calls. Return to the quiet, it whispers. The quiet we long for and that longs for us. From this stillness always a voice arises if we let it. So come, friends, let us listen once again. Let us find that flame inside that guides us back home.
Good morning. I am Rod Richards. I am proud and pleased to serve as minister of this congregation, and it is my great pleasure to welcome you all today. You may have noticed something different about our sanctuary today. We have created a nest for our littlest congregants and their families here in the front of our sanctuary where they can see, hear, and participate. Families are, of course, welcome to sit anywhere that is most comfortable, so this is provided as an option. Our purpose is integration, not segregation. We are exploring ways to live out our commitment to be an intergenerational community, to remind us of the blessings our families bring, and to revisit the promises we have made to nurture, support, and sustain such a community. Children, we are glad you are here with us today, with all that you bring. We have lots of things to help keep your fingers busy while your minds follow along with the beginning of our service today. So please, everyone, feel free to let us, the Worship Arts Committee, Janet and me, let us know what you think of this arrangement. Don't be afraid of some change. We sing together many Sundays. Please let us know how this change works for you as we seek to deepen connections, nurture spiritual growth, embrace multi-generational community, and inspire joy, right? So, with that, let us sing our doxology today. The words are in your order of service, or you may follow the words on the screen.
I strive to hear you say, my good advice gets in the way, jumping ahead to help you through. I miss hearing the little you.
Today's call to worship is by our very own Rod Richards. Our mission calls us to deepen connections. Our covenant calls us to listen deeply. Our call to worship this week and every week is to go deep. Go deep within ourselves so that we may better understand ourselves. Go deep into compassion so that we may respond to others with generosity. Go deep even when it feels risky, especially when it feels risky, so that we may gather all the love we find and bring it to the surface. Go deep and let us worship together. Come, let us worship together.
I invite you now to rise in body or spirit and join in singing number 298 in our gray hymnal, or you may follow the words on the screen, Wake Now My Senses, and Andy will lead us.
Wake now my senses and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being in awe. Keep with the web of creation your vow. Giving, receiving, love shows us how. Wake now, compassion, give heed to the cry. Voices of suffering fill the white sky. Take as your neighbor both stranger and friend, praying and striving their hardship to end. Wake now, my vision of ministry clear. Brighten my pathway with radiance here. Mingle my calling with all who will share. Work toward a planet transformed by our care.
You may be seated. And I would like to invite the children and youth and associated adults and our Director of Religious Exploration, Janet Murphy, to come forward for a story.
Thank you. What were you gonna say?
Yes. Yes, I do.
All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here today. Today our story is a wisdom tale. It's about the eagle, and Rod and I are going to tell it together today. So get ready, here we go.
The theme we are exploring this month in the services and in RE and throughout the congregation is deep listening. And this story from the Lakota tradition shows how important that can be and ways we can make listening easier to do.
This story was given to the Native people many winters ago, when it was time for all of the young mothers in the village to go out to gather fruit and berries. The old grandmothers, whose legs could no longer walk quickly, were left to care for the young children of the village. The young mothers honored the grandmothers by giving them this great responsibility. It is believed that young children have many dreams and visions to collect before they are grown. With the grandmothers close by, all the children took naps. Oh, can you guys pretend like you're taking a nap? Everybody pretend like you're taking a nap. There you go. All right. And in the warmth of the darkened lodge, before sun had traveled his full path each day. On one of these days, while the young children slept, Crow and Magpie, two noisy winged ones, were having a terrible argument outside the lodge where the children were sleeping. Caw, caw, screamed Crow.
Kip, kip.
Yelped Magpie.
I have no idea what a magpie sounds like, so.
You didn't Google that, Ron?
I did. I couldn't do it. That was the problem.
They were both speaking at once, and they could not hear each other's points of view on the subject of which tree belonged to which bird. One of the grandmothers went to quiet the voices outside so that they would not wake the children. She tried to scare the birds away. Shoo, shoo, you guys, shoo the birds away. Can you do it? Come on, shoo them away. When she could not get the attention of the screaming crow or yelling magpie, she called on Eagle for help. Eagle, the great winged one, was a sacred bird for both the native people and all the other animals of the earth. He was also full of wisdom, and everyone looked to him to help with their problems.
Oh, Brother Eagle, can you chase off these two noisy ones so our children can dream? Asked the grandmother. With a mighty flap of his wings, you guys flap your wings. Come on, everybody. Big wings. There we go.
Eagle sailed towards the noisy pair. He gave a call of warning to the crow and magpie as he came close, but they were so busy fighting that they didn't even hear him. When Eagle saw this, he yelled louder and came closer, and that is when it happened.
Caw, 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 caw.
Crow screamed as he flapped his wings in the air so hard he nearly fell off his perch.
Can't, can't, can't.
Yelled Magpie as his wings too flapped up a storm. Come on, you guys, flap your wings. Let's see it. There we go. Suddenly, they both realized that they had flapped their wings so hard, without looking at what they were doing, they hit one of Eagle's wings. What is worse was one of the sacred feathers from Eagle fell out and landed on a small branch suspended above Mother Earth. It was a great offense to touch Eagle, much less cause one of his feathers to come off. Magpie spoke to Eagle.
Oh, Brother Eagle, we did not hear you so near. I am truly sorry for the injury I have caused you.
Now, Crow was surprised to hear such an honorable thing come from the mouth of this rude neighbor. He spoke to Eagle with dignity.
I have many times been a naughty bird, but Brother Eagle, I think this may be the worst I have done in many moons. I am very sorry you have lost a sacred feather.
Crow and Magpie both went to retrieve Eagle's feather, and their eyes met. And with no words at all, they both knew that this mistake would not have happened if they had not been fighting. Magpie took the feather in his beak and spoke.
I am ashamed, Brother Eagle, that my loud talk and harsh words were more important to me than solving our problem.
Crow took the feather from Magpie and said,
We have disturbed the two-legged children and torn from your wing a sacred feather, and now we turn it to you with a request for your forgiveness.
Eagle had watched all this with wise eyes and an open heart. He knew the lesson of listening had been learned by his little brothers, and he saw that the grandmother looked on with learning eyes also. So he said to Crow and Magpie,
Give my feather and the branch it rests on to the grandmother. Grandmother, connect my sacred feather to the branch. Dress the branch with beads and fur to make it even more beautiful. Keep it in your lodge and teach others how to do this.
Eagle said,
We will call this sacred item a talking stick. Tell all the people to bring out the talking stick when they come together. Only the holder will speak while everyone else listens. This will be done in an honorable manner, letting everyone have their turn. Pass the stick until all have spoken,
said Eagle. Grandmother gathered up the branch and the feather. She was very honored to have learned this lesson, and every grandmother from that day on has told this story and helped the young ones to make talking sticks.
Should we try this out? Does somebody want to just say a few words? It can be of greeting or anything that's on your mind. Yeah.
I have used the talking stick many times in groups, and it's very, very helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Paige's art show is today.
Nice. Paige's art show is today. We have an announcement. Thank you, Martin. Anybody else who wants to speak? You know, one thing I love about this story is how it lifts up wisdom from indigenous peoples, in this case, the Lakota people. Wisdom that is too often ignored or unheard by what is known as the dominant culture. And I love that it shines a light on how important it is to make sure all voices have a chance to be heard. And it shows us how we can practice listening to everyone, not just the loudest voices or the people most apt to talk. We know that when you have not been listened to, it can hurt, and how being listened to can help. This is why deep listening is an act of love that we talk about in our covenant. It's one very important way that we can put love at the center of what we do, is giving everybody a chance to speak and listening. So thanks for being here.
Phoebe, would you mind carrying the talking stick back to RE for us? Just hold it and carry it.
Excellent.
Thank you, my dear. So in the week and days ahead, may all of us, kids and adults alike, hold on to this wisdom and look for ways to extend our hearts and ears to those who are often silenced. And may we especially hold on to this lesson when we head off to RE in just a few minutes to explore some more. And before we go, I just want to make sure, Rod's probably going to tell you too, but we have Bubble Fest today. If anybody was here last June, you might remember how fun it was. So at the end of service, make sure you come out those double doors and get a tube of bubbles and join us for a short round of bubble blowing with Bubble Fest out in the sanctuary. And I just wanted to add today that the bubbles are extra special because they were donated by the Women's Discussion Group in honor of Joy Galt, who passed away recently, who was part of our congregation. So thank you all.
And a light is carried from this common flame of our multi-generational congregation into the religious exploration space with the children and youth.
May your mind be open to new learning. May your lips bring truth into the world. May your heart know love and your hands know the touch of justice as you go your way in peace, as you go your way in peace.
As Janet said, there will be a Bubble Fest out in the Labyrinth after the service, so I hope you will all take part in that, take a walk through there on your way to coffee or the social hall. Also, today after the service, a month of Sundays at noon, we'll gather back here in the sanctuary, and feel free to come and share from your reflections and experience about the theme of the month, which is deep listening. And next week, after the service, is Second Sunday with the board. I hope you all attend that. The board has been very busy and has a lot of things to share about the year ahead and what we'll be looking at. So please do come and plan to stay for that after the service next week. And we have set aside this time in our service to share with each other those joys and sorrows and concerns that we carry, that we wish to share with this community. This is from Allison Ricker. Happiest of birthdays to Tom Brown, Tech Wizard. We love you today and every day. I love it. And this is from our membership director, Larry Iquinta. Thanks to all who participated in the open house last week. You've probably read the summary in the newsletter, right? Right, yes. But there were about 25 groups represented and 75 people in attendance. For those of you who couldn't make it, each group set up their own table with creative decorations, candy, examples of their work, and swag to give away. A person was at each table to answer questions. RE supplied drinks and popcorn. RE is religious exploration. A juggler livened things up in the labyrinth, and UUSLO tote bags were given to folks who visited 6 tables. We're calling it a success, and plans are in the works to continue it in some form going forward. Ideas are welcome, and if you'd like to be involved in planning, and I'm sure you would like to be, right? Yes? Step right up. Feel free to contact Larry. And this is from Jan Clark. My wonderful, sometimes odd grandson, Austin Clark, died 2 weeks ago at the age of 32 from cancer. Austin was proud to be a member of the Rocky Horror Picture Show stage troupe when he lived in Fort Worth from the age of 15 to when he died. He spent 6 years in the Navy, most of his time in Australia, and never went on a boat. He served as a corpsman for a Marine unit most of the time. I was fortunate to have him live with me for nearly 3 years when he was in elementary school. He moved back to Fort Worth to be with his mom when he was 9. He often came back to Paso and spent his summer many times with his dad and with me. When he was 14, I asked him if he wanted to take a trip in my RV. He said he always wanted to see Mount Rushmore, so off we went with many wonderful stops. We even drove to Iowa to see my son's family, including their 1-year-old son. Austin was very special and loved and missed by many. Let's just take a moment to hold the love that was expressed there and the memory of Austin. Thank you, Jan. These days we are presently in are known in the Jewish tradition as the days of awe. Those days that include and connect Rosh Hashanah, which ended on Friday evening, October 4th, and Yom Kippur, which begins on Friday evening, October 11th. I don't pretend a deep understanding from inside the Jewish tradition, but I carry a deep respect for these traditions, and what I find so profoundly perceptive about the days of awe in particular is that they call people to deep reflection on their actions and to the active repentance that arises from that deep reflection on where we have fallen short, where we may have betrayed our highest ideals, along with a commitment to doing better. Repentance, atonement, are not popular words in Unitarian Universalist circles, but there is much to learn here, especially resonating with our theme for this month, deep listening. Louis Newman, Associate Dean and Professor of Religious Studies at Carleton College in Minnesota, and the author of several books on Jewish ethics and theology, including Repentance, the Meaning and Practice of Teshuvah. He was interviewed by Krista Tippett during the Days of Awe in 2015 on her show On Being. He said this about the practice of repentance. We cannot literally go back in time and undo what we did, And yet, repentance is precisely that process by which we can, in the moral realm, if not in the physical realm, we can go back to the deed. We can find that part of ourselves that led to doing the transgression and reform ourselves. I find that inspiring, he says, to think that we are not in bondage to even our most grievous mistakes. Repentance really is about coming to terms with who we really are, and that's true in a couple of senses. It's true both in terms of claiming our own mistakes, not running from them, not hiding them, but actually claiming them, knowing that they're true and owning them, and also owning the fact that deep down, our core essence is ultimately good. It's about honesty and truthfulness. It's about being true to who we really are. It's also about returning. There's a voice always coming from Mount Sinai, the voice we heard about in the call to worship, inviting us to return. And that sense of responding to an ongoing call that's there, whether we're listening to it or not, is very much a part of what we mean by repentance. So in this year's celebration of the Days of Awe, amid the commemoration of the horribly brutal attack of October 7th last year against Israeli citizens, amid the heartlessly prolonged brutal attack on Gaza that continues, amid the senseless acceleration of this war, and in this country, with its shameful history and ongoing legacy of colonialism, slavery, oppression, discrimination, and violence, may we listen for that call to our highest aspirations rather than our basest inclinations. May we respond with our values rather than react from our fears. May we listen deeply and speak truthfully. And may we work toward a world where love is indeed at the center of our lives. Let's take a few moments of silence to hold all the joys and sorrows that were spoken and those that remain unspoken, offering a prayer for the healing of pain and opening ourselves to a renewed awareness of and commitment to the truly awesome power of love within and beyond this community. Our community outreach offering recipient for October is the UUSLO We Care Food Share. We Care Food Share is a group within our congregation who runs a weekly food pantry for those who need it on Wednesdays from 3 to 4:30 p.m. Food is purchased entirely through contributions from UUSLO members, contributions above and beyond the operating budget. Some food is purchased from the SLO Food Bank and some from local grocery stores. The emphasis is on providing balanced, healthy food Some 250 to 300 people are served each month at a cost of $800 to $1,000. The community We Care Food Share serves is very grateful for the assistance, as it helps them to eat a healthy diet while saving money for other necessities such as housing and transportation. You'll be hearing more about We Care Food Share in the coming weeks. The in-person offering next week will be directed toward the We Care Food Share. If you would like to give today in the offering, please write COO in the memo line on your check. That's for community outreach offering. And remember that you can give to the community outreach offering throughout the month on our giving page on our website. And we also always have a We Care Food Share direct giving, and you'll hear more about that also, how you can give throughout the year to Food Share. So here is the giving page on our website, which shows the various funds to which you can target your donations. At the bottom of your order of service is a QR code that will take you directly to that page. If you have any questions about using that page or your donations, please contact the office. Generosity is central to who we are and what we do together, and so we make time each week for an offering from our abundance to sustain this gathering and to strengthen the work of love that grows from our commitment to each other, to the wider community, and to the world. Please join with me in the words for the offering. We are this church. We are its hands, its heart, its voice. Together we share the wealth of this community and sustain it with our gifts. The offering will now be given and received.
You awesome, as always. I would like to advocate for the food share You can, again, very easily sustain it directly with a monthly donation. You can do it online. They do such important work, and it's really fun to volunteer with Food Share as well. So if you happen to have a Wednesday afternoon free from 2 to 4:30, lovely people both to work with and to take care of. It's really super gratifying. So, all right. Today's first reading is from the Reverend Dr. Sandra Fuse. Here's where Unitarian Universalists sometimes get off track. Sometimes UUs mistake the focus on listening to self with a fierce individualism and independence. The worth and dignity of every person, every self, sometimes gets used to prioritizing one individual without an equal concern for relationships and community. But listening to self actually turns out to be inseparable from listening to others. Just as honoring each person's worth and dignity is inseparable from honoring the interconnection of all people, so the attentiveness to the self is inextricably related to attentiveness to the other, to a greater wholeness. As Dag Hammarskjöld says, the more faithfully you listen to the voice within you, the better you will hear what is sounding outside. Ultimately, deep listening connects to the spirit and all in us, in each other, in the universe, in other beings. We are called to be faithful to our inner lives so that we can be faithful to the outer world as well. Our second reading is entitled How to Listen by Joyce Sutphin. Tilt your head slightly to one side and lift your eyebrows expectantly. Ask questions. Delve into the subject at hand and let things come randomly, but don't expect answers. Forget everything you've ever done. Make no comparisons. Simply listen. Listen with your eyes as if the story you are hearing is happening right now. Listen without blinking, as if a move might frighten the truth away forever. Don't attempt to copy anything down. Don't bring a camera or a recorder. This is your chance to listen carefully. Your whole life may depend on what you hear. Here ends the reading.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping left its seeds while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence. In the rest streams I walked alone, narrow streets of cobblestone, neath the halo of a street lamp. I turned my collar to the cold and damp, when my eyes were stabbed by the flash of a neon light that split the night and touched the sound of silence. And in the naked light I saw 10,000 people, maybe more, people talking without listening, people hearing without listening, people writing songs that voices that never share, and no one dare disturb the sound of silence. Fools, I said you do not know. Silence like a cancer grows. Hear my words that I might teach you, that my arms I might reach you, but my words like silent raindrops fell and echoed in the wells of silence, and the people bowed and prayed to the neon god they made, and the sign flashed out its warning in the words that was forming, and the signs and the words of the prophets are written on the subway walls and tenement halls, and whispered in the sounds of silence.
Thank you. Catch a bubble. How many of you recognize that as a phrase used to request silence? Anyone? A request that a person stop talking, an invitation to be quiet. I admit that I first ran across it from the video posts, the reels in Instagram speak, posted by a kindergarten teacher who goes by the name of Mrs. Frazzled. In these posts, she is often carrying on an imaginary conversation. We only hear her side of the conversation, carrying on an imaginary conversation with a particular politician or a movie character or a type. For example, your uncle who simply won't accept the idea of preferred pronouns. And carrying on these conversations as she might with a student in her kindergarten class. She calls them gentle parenting conversations. Now, I am not endorsing her teaching methods as displayed in these videos. I know she gets flack for being condescending, nor am I even recommending that you view them. I introduce her only to say that I am taken with that phrase that she uses that is meant to interrupt the implied whining or defensiveness or angry words or any inappropriate outbursts of the imaginary person to whom she is speaking. She'll say, "Oh, catch a bubble, friend," while putting a finger to her lips and puffing out her cheeks. That's catching a bubble. Very good. Shine on, shine on. That's another thing she does, but I digress. What I like about Catch a Bubble is that it has become a light and playful way to remind myself that I can choose to be quiet, even at those times when my initial inclination is to speak, that I can choose to be quiet, especially when I am listening to someone else. As Mrs. Frazzled might say to me, "I know that you think what you have to say is important, friend, but right now you are listening to another person." That's right, you are using your listening ears. And just because they paused doesn't necessarily mean they are done speaking. So let's catch a bubble and listen to what comes next. And maybe then you can decide whether to speak or not, okay? Because really, you can often tell when you are talking to someone if they are thinking of what they are going to say next, right? You can often tell, you can see it in their eyes that something is being constructed in their minds in addition to them receiving and interpreting what you are saying. When you pause, you can sometimes feel them lean forward, literally or figuratively, as they decide whether this is their opportunity to give voice to these thoughts. And if you continue speaking, you can sometimes feel a certain frustration from the other person that you have now traveled past the point where they wish to insert their response. And listen, if I can notice that in others, I realize that they see the same process happening in me, because I do it. You probably do it. Most of us do it. I am not saying it is bad or wrong or that we should beat ourselves up about it. What I am hoping is that by raising it to awareness, I am able to realize that it is a choice. I do it, but I don't have to think about the next thing I am going to say while you are speaking. It is not a requirement for conversation, and it can hinder my ability to listen deeply. By raising this to my awareness, by understanding that it is a choice to engage conversation in this way, thinking about what I will say next as I am listening, I am able to ask why this feels so natural. How do I practice making another choice? I believe that we are culturally conditioned to not accept silence as a necessary and valuable part of conversation. We are culturally conditioned to not accept, to reject silence as a necessary and truly valuable part of listening. Because there is silence and there is silence, right? There is the sound of silence, but there is that very valuable silence of letting things sink in. It is a necessary and valuable part of being present to ourselves and to one another. Silence, instead, is oftentimes unsettling to us. And this anxiety occurs not only when I am listening, ready to speak if there is a bit of silence, but also when I am speaking. If what I say is met with silence, I suddenly feel uneasy. Were they not listening? Did they not understand? Do they disagree? We are conditioned to expect an almost immediate verbal response shortly after we are done speaking, or maybe even to be interrupted in what we are saying by a verbal response to something we already said. I would love to see a cultural history of this someday, because a piece of this is technological, I think. Long-distance phone calls. Does anybody remember those? Who remembers long-distance phone calls? On a long-distance conversation, you didn't want a lot of silence, right? Because you were paying for those seconds of silence. So you wanted to keep trading bits of information or opinions or best wishes or whatever. And I remember my oldest brother, I would have conversations with him on the phone. He was totally okay with silence on the phone. And I was thinking, am I supposed to say something? Should I say we shouldn't? Besides, what am I going to do with this phone in my ear if we're just going to be quiet, right? So pulling myself out of the distant past, silence on Zoom can feel awkward, yes? Not quite sure where I should direct my eyes. Is someone trying to speak who is actually muted? If no one's speaking, does it mean I should speak up? After all, we logged in for some reason. Podcasts. Millions of podcasts, many of them in a conversational style. And while they can admittedly be entertaining, a lot of times, let's face it, people are just babbling. They are filling up air daily, weekly. They are there to talk, but they are decidedly not models for deep listening. And I think, again, technologically speaking, that the ubiquitous ability to capture, record, rewind, replay, refind that particular post or podcast or presentation can make me a lazy listener. I sometimes have this disorienting expectation that I can replay something that happened IRL, in real life. Can I just go back to that moment and replay it? My fuzzy memory of something that occurred or something that was shared or something that I witnessed leads me to think I should find that and watch it again, listen to it again, refresh my memory with what actually occurred, only to realize there is no record of it. I won't find it on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube or TikTok, that my fuzzy memory or those memories, fuzzy or otherwise, of others is all I have. And that's okay. That is life. That's okay unless I am living my life with the unacknowledged, unrealistic, unexamined expectation that everything is available to watch again. Everything is available to view again. Everything is available to listen to again. I cannot rewind and replay an opportunity to listen to someone. I cannot rewind and replay an opportunity to be there for someone. That is life, and it's okay when I realize that every moment of life, every conversation, every occurrence is a unique and unrepeatable event. Even those things that are recorded, even those things I can watch again, even those things I can replay, they are unrepeatable. And in that sense, catch a bubble takes on another meaning for me. Have you ever caught a bubble? You will have opportunities to try after the service, as we mentioned, as the children make some bubbles for us. But have you ever caught one on your palm, in your hair, on your shoulder? Let a bubble come to rest on you. What does it take to catch a bubble? There are no guarantees, first. Bubbles seem to have a mind of their own when it comes to popping or remaining intact as they come to rest for a blissful moment or two. But being calm will increase your chances. Finding a stillness within and without. Listen without blinking, as if a move might frighten the truth away forever, writes poet Joyce Sutphen. Life's moments are like bubbles. I am much more apt to catch them, not in terms of capturing, but in terms of appreciating them. I am much more apt to catch them if I can find that quiet within, even amid energetic activity around me. Because some of the ways I listen or fail to listen to others are sometimes mirrored in the ways I listen or fail to listen to myself, to what is going on inside me, in my heart, my mind, my spirit, whatever you want to call these inner workings. I'm filling up any silence within me with more words. I'm trying to fix my problems. I'm offering critiques and helpful advice to myself about the course of action that will fill up my to-do list. I would do well to take the advice of the poet for listening also to myself. Tilt your head slightly to one side and lift your eyebrows expectantly. Ask questions. Delve into the subject at hand or let things come randomly. Don't expect answers. Forget everything you've ever done. Make no comparisons. Simply listen. Listen with your eyes as if the story you are hearing is happening right now. Listen without blinking as if a move might frighten the truth away forever. Don't attempt to copy anything down. Don't bring a camera or a recorder or a phone. This is your chance to listen carefully. Your whole life might depend on what you hear. So may it be. I invite you to rise in body or spirit, and we are going to join in singing number 389, Gathered Here. We are going to sing it through 3 times in unison. You may follow the words on the screen, and Andy is going to lead us.
Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draw near.
Please join us in saying the words we use each Sunday as we extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
In celebration of the days of awe, I share these words by von Ogden Vogt from our hymnal. Before the wonders of life, we acknowledge our failures to see and to revere. Before the sanctities of life, we are ashamed of our disrespects and indignities. Before the gifts of life, we own that we have made choices sometimes of lesser goods, and here today seek the gifts of the Spirit. Before the heroisms of life, we would be enlarged to new devotion. Now, after you listen to our postlude, go forth in love, in joy, in peace, and go catch a bubble.